Hi, this is Samantha. Thanks for tuning in to our next episode. We were experiencing some technical difficulties during the recording, so the quality and audio might not be up to our typical standards. We still had a great conversation, and we hope that you enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Amigo CartCast. I'm Samantha Taylor, your host, along with my co-host virtually, Scott Chappell. How are you doing, Scott?
Oh, I'm good. We normally do this together in the same room, so it's a little different, but you know what? They say change is good.
Change is good, and regardless, it's great to see you.
Thank you.
So today we're going to talk about one of our favorite topics, and that is trade shows. So Scott, you've had the pleasure of attending a lot of trade shows throughout your career. So I'm curious to pick your brain on that. But also we're going to play a little devil's advocate because there is some controversy out there of, are trade shows really worth it? There's so many varieties to choose from, big, small, and everything in between. So I'm curious to know your thoughts. First of all, how many trade shows do you think you have attended in your lifetime?
Oh in my lifetime, holy smokes. So,
maybe with your career in Amigo, let's start there. Let's try to scale it. Sure.
You know, it's funny. I didn't even, I wish I'd have known this question because I had a better answer. I'm sure it's definitely over 100 or hundreds. Because, you know, with Amigo alone, it's been quite a few since we started the material handling product line, but we try to at least do 2 or 3 a year, and it's been almost 8 years. So there's 20 some, but done a lot of different trade shows in a lot of different industries as well.
So over that span, how have you seen the difference like in trade shows evolving? You think even from, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, is there any trends that you're noticing kind of picking up in trade shows? Anything that you're noticing that is more prevalent or popular today than maybe it was 8 years ago?
Well, I will tell you this, when you mentioned that a few years ago, I mean, I was in Atlanta. We were in Atlanta for a Modex trade show when COVID hit. And what was crazy was the first 2 days was light. But then all of a sudden, all the regulations came about, and then the last 2 days were basically worthless. So what I'm trying to do with trade shows is kind of compare it to that, which is kind of unfair because that was kind of the extreme. But I've seen a lot of traffic at trade shows since the pandemic happened, and obviously that was a real big deal. And I kind of try to judge every trade show we're doing now at what it was like before 2020. And we just judge trade shows by kind of the number of leads that we scan, that we get, and the amount of interest.
No, I think that's great. You think about, some of these trade shows that you attend and you go to, and there is so much to see. And you have to almost go in with a very specific agenda of what you want to look at, because it's almost impossible to see everything in one day, maybe even in 2 days at some of these large trade shows. So my question was going to be, how do you feel like, what would you look at when you're attending a trade show? Like, what would draw you in? And what do you feel like you need to do to make yourself be seen? And you kind of alluded to it a little bit with maybe it's the product, maybe it's the displays, maybe it's the people, or a combination of all of the above. But in a world where, there's robots serving ice cream,
right,
which we saw at our
Yes.
recent show, very interesting. Or even, large displays with semi-autonomous or fully autonomous equipment. That's always fascinating to see. So in a world where there's sparkly, shiny things, you got to make yourself stand apart for sure.
Oh, most definitely. And I think what's unique is most people come to trade shows and they probably do their homework and they probably have 3 or 4 or 5 things they want to see. And like you had mentioned, these trade shows are huge. So what happens a lot, and humans, we are creatures of habit, is a lot of times people will walk every aisle in the trade show, because now they may not have interest in everything, but they want to go down every aisle and complete it, kind of like checking off the box. So with that being said, I got a couple comments here. One is placement of of a booth, right? We've been fortunate to, when we go to trade shows, almost have our booth on an end. So what does that mean to anybody? Well, when you start your trade show experience, you don't really start in the middle. We just don't do that, right? Because we're human. So what you normally start is at an end, and then you go up and down, up and down. So getting to the actual placement of a booth, we try to go on an end, so that way you either start or you finish with us. The other thing is, I think when a lot of people go to trade shows, they're looking for what is new. I mean, they've seen certain things out there. They might have interest in certain products, but they're also interested in new. And for example, when we go to the material handling trade shows like we do, the newest, the latest, greatest thing, and we just saw it this year, Samantha, are these robots and autonomous things. It's like sugar and ants. I mean, it just attracts them, right? I mean,
Yeah, good way to put it.
Who doesn't like sugar? So it's twofold. One is the new stuff people look at and it attracts them. And then it also brings people by our booth kind of by default.
Oh, I think that's absolutely. Now, I don't want you to give away all their trade secrets that people want to, an end, but I think that definitely helps with getting booth traffic. And the other thing that I was just going to make mention, just a quick little shameless plug of real quick. And how did we go to market with our product? Didn't you meet a whole network of people at a trade show?
Well, that's a real good point. And now you're going to try to really confuse me because I just recently had a birthday, so my memory isn't as good as it used to be. But correct. So in 2017 at ProMat in Chicago is when we were able, as a company, we didn't know how we were going to promote this new product line. And then at that point in time, Jen, who is a staple here at the company, had entered a relationship, met with a manufacturer rep that all of a sudden turned us on to 8 more manufacturer reps. So it's just kind of like presto, we've now got a distribution system in place. So that's what we did find at that trade show.
I mean, we use the term a lot of like right sizing your fleet. And I think when people are going to trade shows, they're trying to understand maybe what they're able to implement today and 5 years from now and 10 years from now. Sometimes those larger warehouses or different facilities, however they're using material handling product, takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of engineering and site planning. So sometimes that's maybe where our Amigo carts fit in, is maybe that's the today makes sense. Something that they can implement right away, can be retrofitted into any place. And then the long term could be different with more autonomous sites or whatever it could be. So makes sense.
Well, I think the other neat thing about when you go to a trade show is, and like I say, not that it's trade show 101, because somebody's going to be listening and go, oh my gosh, I know all this. And that's cool. I get it. But you have to be engaging, right? I mean, you walk by booths and it's almost like a job interview, right? I mean, you're nervous. The company's nervous. Everybody's talking, kind of wondering what's going on. And then a trade show's similar. So what I've seen, I think the best success we have is just a warm, welcoming hi. Believe it or not, all you young kids out there, it's not texting, it's not TikTok, it's just a simple communication. Hi.
It's so intimidating.
I know.
Why would you want to talk to anybody?
I don't know if you've heard me before, but I love talking to people. But it's as simple as starting a conversation. Some people walk by, but you know what, everybody? It's not personal. If they don't want to talk to you, let them go. Let's not fight this. But it's a simple engagement introduction. Hi. And then at that point, if it's a hi back, what do you do? This is what we do. And then it might start a conversation. So that's kind of trade show 101 as far as, once again, people are going to say it's pretty simple and basic. I don't know if it is all the time, because we've all gone to trade shows. I mean, we walk through trade shows and not every booth talks to you.
No, it's absolutely true. I honestly appreciate trade shows from back in my retail days, where I would, very much trained. That was like sales 101. Like, you do not let a customer walk into the store without at least being greeted and understand their intention. So if someone's walking by the booth and kind of does a double take, slightly looks at you, side eyes you, you better believe we're wheeling them in to have a conversation.
Well, I'm a little, if people know me, I'm a little quirky. And what happens a lot of times is people are kind of sneaky. They're stealth, and they will walk by your booth,
Hmm.
then they'll stand back, and then they'll look. And if there's two of them, they'll talk together. So then the next thing out of my mouth, because that's just how I am, as I go, okay, you've looked at the product, you're talking to each other. Now is time for us to talk, because obviously there's something you're talking about. And normally that's received pretty well. There's not many rude people at trade shows. So you're not going to get your feelings hurt. That's for sure.
Oh, but I think also on the opposite side, like it breaks the ice a little bit. Maybe if they're a little intimidated and don't know exactly, clearly the wheels are turning, something's going on in their mind, but they don't know what exactly the question is they need to ask. At least breaks the ice to say, hey, I'm here for answer any questions you might have.
Oh, most definitely. And honestly, what you almost find at these shows is if you do open that dialogue up, you're amazed that you almost get too much information because people feel comfortable with you, right? So if they feel comfortable, they're going to tell you everything. And then another part of a trade show is, and we normally stock our trade show really well with people, right? I mean, we normally have 2-3 people at the bigger shows, but let me tell you what also can get kind of anxious. You can get anxious with a trade show is you're talking to somebody, you kind of got all your information, you scan them, you got to write your notes, and then you see people walking by that you're not able to talk to. And trade shows are another part of this podcast can be the investment of a trade show. I mean, look what you're investing: time, money, eating, hotel. So you really, if you can scan 100, you want to scan 110. But what you don't want to do is miss out on a few. So that's why it's also important to have a booth stocked properly with people, whether it's us as employees or whether it's our manufacturer reps, or it might even be a dealer that we have that stops by and says, hey, what do you have interest in? So it's like a team, teamwork makes the dream work is what the younger employees here at Amigo tell me.
That's absolutely true. Teamwork makes the dream work. But I think you bring up a good point. That was going to be one of my devil's advocate controversy, right? Like if you don't have properly trained staff to be able to man the booth, so that could definitely be maybe a negative to a trade show, or the initial investment, because it is a lot of money, not only for the booth setup to bring the product in, to pay the staff to man it and set up displays, travel, hotels, all of that. It definitely adds up. And if you don't have a well-planned trade show and it doesn't get executed properly, you're not going to see that ROI.
Oh, and you're 100% correct. And the leadership team at our company or at any other company, if they've got their head on right, they're going to want to say, hey, this is the investment and what is the return? And you got to have people there that one, are very interactive, and two, also kind of know if it's a viable lead. For example, there's almost two kind of thoughts at a trade show. One is you scan everybody and you bring back 500 leads and you go to corporate and you go to management and go, oh my gosh, we just got 500 leads. And the other side of it is we are going to get quality leads, because just having names doesn't do us any good. All of a sudden your close ratio goes down. So in a case like that that's what we've been focused on, is quality leads, talking to people, making notes on our scanning devices, so that way we can follow up right when we get back. So that way we strike while the iron's basically hot.
One other thing too that I'm just thinking about as we're talking is, not only is it important to have all these places, all these, we'll call them list, I don't know, into place, to have a successful trade show. So you got the people, you got the product, you got the displays, you have a well-executed plan. But before you can even do any of that, I think it's really important to do some research and understand the trade shows that you're attending. There's so many different options out there. And if you don't know the audience that you're presenting to, it's not going to do you a lot of good. So sometimes they say, like, a big fish in a small pond could be good for you. Or sometimes you want to see throw it out there and see what sticks. So depends on what your goal is and what you're looking for, but it is important to, what you're getting into before you present yourself.
Oh, and I agree 100%. And that's honestly, I'm glad you brought that up because I would have never thought that way. So material handling trade shows are pretty much across the board. People are looking for ways to increase the efficiency in their facility. You talk about a Fab Tech, which is a manufacturing show, which is a huge show, and you talk about Pack Expo. Fab Tech is manufacturing. It's people buying these huge machines that they use to manufacture things. So what we needed to do at that show is we needed to maybe come from a raw material standpoint, moving those, or possibly a maintenance standpoint. So when we go to that show, we obviously think in our head that, okay, this is a manufacturing show. Not sure they really want our product, but we need to tell them that, like you say, manufacturing and moving things. Look at a Pack Expo show, which is a packaging show. Mm-hmm. What in the world does bubble wrap have to do with our products? Well, I got news for you. A lot of cases like that, there's a lot of warehouses, fulfillment centers that are there that are looking to move things from one end of the building to the other. Or we can also talk about maintenance. Or at every one of these shows, we can talk about moving people because honestly, I'm going to tell you, if you have 300,000 square foot or if you have 1 million square foot, you got to get around that place faster. So then we promote our people movers. So that comment is great, Samantha, because we also have to know which sandbox we're playing in. And you're right. I mean, if we're talking different language at a trade show, even a safety show, we're looking to do things safer, right? We're looking to have smaller products in smaller areas around people so nobody gets ran over, nobody gets hurt. But you're 100% correct. If you think you're just going to go in and wing it, it's a little deeper than that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I think you brought up a lot of great points for today's episode. So I guess overall, in your opinion, are trade shows worth it?
Well, I will tell you, I always enjoy seeing people. This is me personally, but I enjoy meeting people. If you can't tell, I enjoy talking to people. And that's where you do that the most. So if we can meet people, talk to people, they potentially have a need or they don't have a need, but after talking to us, they have a need. I'm going to tell you, I just think it's when you start comparing trade shows compared to Google clicks, compared to LinkedIn advertising or any kind of or yellow pages, they're gone. So everybody knows that. I'm just telling you, I think you can get a big bang for your buck at a trade show by doing all those different things.
So thumbs up from Scotty.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up from Samantha. I would agree. I think that it's definitely, you can't put a price in getting in front of direct customers to be able to build those relationships. And when you look at all the various ways to be able to get leads, trade shows overall have been very successful for us. So we hope for our listeners that trade shows are also beneficial for them. Of course, if you have any questions or want to see more about our product, Scott, can you tell them where to go?
Well, we are at www.myamigo.com/industrial. If you go to that website, you're going to see all the products that we carry. So myamigo.com/industrial. It would be a good place to start.
I love it. I would also encourage anybody who maybe is attending trade shows to follow Scott and myself both on LinkedIn. We love to post where we're going to be next and drop us a line. Let us know where you're headed next. We'd love to see you there. So I think that wraps up another episode of the Amigo CartCast. Until next time,
keep it rolling.